With over 100 reviews now, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy is sitting, depending on where you're located and when you refresh it, somewhere around a 77%. So now plugging in some numbers and people looking at it, it's expected that Guardians of the Galaxy will be the next Rotten rated MCU entry. So most people know how reviews typically go. It's very rare that a film releases and then more reviews follows and the score goes up. Like 99.5% of the time when the reviews hit, let's say they land at like an 80, then typically they're gonna go downwards, right? We've seen this trend over and over. Joker started out like a 97. And then it made its way down to like the high 60s. I remember Iron Man 3 started at like a 91, I think, and then it made its way down to a 79, I believe, currently. Although people can always add reviews like years later, and then that can adjust the score, but you get what I'm saying, right? Like, typically the movies go down. It's always just how it goes. So now, according to people online, if you just look at the pattern and you look at how each other film that came out, from Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania most recently, to even something like on DC side, Black Adam and or Shazam. If you look at the number it starts off with and then how it keeps falling, it looks like that the same amount of reviews for the first 100 of each are right there. They're relatively close. So by looking at that, people are expecting Guardians might end up being the next Rotten film. Now, as of right now, it's not. Obviously, it's at a 77 or 78, but it could. So what exactly are we looking at here? Do you care about Rotten Tomatoes? That's all I'm going to ask you. That's the question I want to put out here. And does you caring for it support your narrative? Because people, most of the time I see it, they're like, I don't care about Rotten Tomatoes, right? They don't care about it. But online, you see the story swing. When The Batman came out, and that did great, people are still using that to be like, why can't the MCU put out movies that have good scores like The Batman, right? And they'll point to the Rotten Tomatoes. But then you point out, well, wait a second. The Batman has an 85, and we're looking at MCU movies recently like Shang-Chi. They have like a 90, so what gives? They're like, well, that doesn't matter. That score is biased. But see, people like form an argument. Whatever they like, that's when it matters. And then what they don't like, well, then the audience score, something else matters, right? So I ultimately ask you, does Rotten Tomatoes matter? Like if Guardians 3 falls, are you gonna not see the movie if you're a fan of this franchise? I know there will be people that if the score turns rotten by the weekend, they might not go see it because they'll perceive it as a waste of money. But some, I think a lot of Marvel fans are still gonna go see it opening weekend, and then we see what happens next. So we'll talk more about it if it officially hits a rotten ranking, but until then, is the possible chance of it going rotten affecting you at all? Hold on, let me say my unpopular thing. Because I can't imagine this film being worse than Guardians 2. So, there, I said it. I said it.